everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm having a little coffee and oh, wait, who's that? Princess Jasmine? Oh, we're going to be talking about Aladdin today. I'm going to see Aladdin today in the theaters with Bub and Belle. Biddy's going to sit this one out. She's going to go to Nana and Papa's house. I think she'll be happier there. We did take her to see Dumbo last time and it was not terrible, but the kid's still pretty squirmy during a movie. And I think part of it was just the whole shock of, I'm in this big room, there's all these people, giant screen, really loud. She was enjoying it, but it was just a lot to take in. Mac has this whole makeup collection based on the new release of Aladdin, and it's very exciting to me, really. Even though I misspelled Aladdin in my little poll on Twitter, I was trying to get a feel for what people wanted to see next, and I misspelled Aladdin. Sorry. But we've got a lot of pieces to talk about today. We've got a lot of lip products. I think a total of, gosh, 8 if you count this little like balm thing they put out. But we've got an eyeshadow palette. We've got, you know, bronzer and highlighter. We've got a pigment and a bunch of lip products and an eyeliner. That's basically what we're talking about today. And I kind of like videos like this where you're reviewing something, kind of talking about it and applying it as you give your review. I personally really like it when Mac puts out these collections that coincide with a big movie or just a big moment happening in pop culture. It's kind of cool to have the coordinating makeup. And let's talk packaging here. Like, this is what your powder compacts are gonna look like. There's lots of gold with this collection, which I totally understand. It gives me the vibe of, you know, kind of that palatial, really fancy vibe. At first, when I looked at it, it's like, gosh, there's detail galore on like everything. Is it too much? But I do think it kind of does fit, you know, the theme. But for example, looking at this lip gloss, I don't think you could find me a square centimeter on this thing, cap included, that doesn't have something on it. Like, it's just printed all over. The eyeliner's really pretty, actually. It's got like these big sort of peacock feathers all over it. This is what the lipsticks look like, maybe a bit simpler. They've got the peacock feather design on the bottom and straight up gold on the top. That might be some of my favorite packaging in all this. So lots of gold, very ornate, kind of fancy designs. I think it does fit the theme well. But yeah, let's jump in and start applying. I've got my brows done and I've got my foundation, concealer, and powder on. So we are gonna pop open Your Wish is My Command. And this they call a powder blush. Couldn't look any more like a bronzer to me. And it's kind of deep, and I think it's got a little bit of a reddish tone in there, which I'm enjoying. You can see the little lamp imprint. It's a very deep imprint, so I think you'll be using this a while before any of that starts to fade away. But I really like this bronzer. By the way, I've been playing with this collection for just a couple of days now, so I've definitely familiarized myself with it. This isn't a first impression, but I feel kind of like adequately well-versed in everything, even though apparently I still don't know how to spell Latin. 2 D's, my friends, 2 D's. Okay, got that around the hairline. I'm gonna take a little bit here for contour because I don't have anything else on in that respect. It's just a nice tone. I mean, it's kind of like, when you get a special collection out, are you looking for a basic? Because this is what I'd call a basic. The more flashy, like specific to Aladdin things, I would say might be the eyeshadow palette, might be some of the different lip colors. But the bronzer, it's like, if you really like it, go for it. But if you're loaded with bronzers already and you're thinking, where do I want to spend my money? I want a piece of the Aladdin collection. It's nice, it's just not like super exciting. You know what I'm saying? It's nice that it's in the collection, it's fine, it looks really nice natural on my skin. It's just super basic, okay? Now I want to take a moment to talk about the pigment that came out with this collection, which is basically just a repackaged Aladdin style pigment in rose. I know this is already out because I already actually own this pigment, a smaller size from a holiday kit. It's really, really beautiful. I was wearing this on the lids the other day. I took a brush, I misted it after I got the pigment on. I gave it a little mist of some Fix Plus, and if you do it that way, like, you will have such full on, easy to control color all over the lid. It's gorgeous. But I also had applied this the other day as a blush. I thought, let's just see, you know, it looks pretty pink. How would that work as blush? Actually shows up more pinky and more vibrant on the cheeks than you might expect, but I did not feel like the staying power was very good at all. So I'm not gonna go ahead and use that again today on my cheeks. I am gonna pop on something that's kind of new. Oops, don't roll away. I purchased one of these Cover FX monochromatic blush duos. I chose the shade Pink Dahlia. I got this off of Beautylish, and it is beautiful to look at. You've got the blush, and then you've got this kind of like glowy side, which you could mix with the blush, kind of highlight with. Very pigmented blush, by the way, like Pink Dahlia would probably have been one of the lighter, softer seeming shades in the lineup, but as you can see, it's still very, very pinky. I kind of unloaded a little bit of color here on this other cheek just to lessen the overall intensity. But gosh, it's pretty, just be careful. But this is the fully matte side, and then you guys know how I feel about shimmery blushes. I welcome that, so I'm gonna bring in the other side too. And kind of let it come right over top. It is a pretty duo. I find the shimmery side to be considerably less intense than the matte, but there you go, there's a little blush. Sorry that it wasn't from this collection. I wish there would be more blushes put out with some of these special collections, don't you? Like of all times, I thought with that Boom Boom Bloom collection, that should have been a blush. You know, they did have that weird kind of overspray product that maybe ultimately was a blush, but it didn't seem like that was the intent. We just need some straight up blushes, maybe like a blush trio or something. But the next thing here is the Always One Jump Ahead. They call it a powder blush, but this is clearly a highlight, right? And it's a very soft gold shade. Do you see that? Like I'd call it somewhere between a champagne and a soft gold. It's not a real brassy gold. I can wear this on my skin, but the effect is super soft and subtle. Once this shears out on really fair skin, I'm not sure how fair skin would really react to this, because if you feel like you always need a super bright like white highlight in order to show up, in order to get an effect and a contrast with your very fair skin, this may not be the best choice because it's just a hair deeper with that golden tone. But I'm gonna pop it on here so you can see. See how I'm getting a nice glow? But as I buff it in, I mean, there's no chunks, there's nothing like, for people who overall like a little softer highlight, this might be a good one for you. Just a cheek to cheek comparison, this side has the highlight, this one does not. And I think it's very soft and flattering. It surprised me a little bit because just given the overall glitz of the collection, maybe that highlight's gonna be like really over the top. But really, it incorporates the gold, which is kind of an undercurrent in this whole theme, but it's just not insanely bold. I feel like I applied it pretty generously, and I've got some glow, don't get me wrong. What I happen to have sitting right beside me is this Milani strobe light in Afterglow. Like that is a really intense highlight. Part of it's the color tone. It's even lighter. I think it's the tone of this that brings it down a notch, makes it a little bit more muted. Next, I'm gonna do a little bit of setting spray. I'm just gonna use this Fix Plus that I have from the Boom Boom Bloom collection. Oh, I do love the smell of that. I need to use that more. And then we're gonna move on to an eye look. I already have my eyelids primed, and this is the palette. You probably wanna see the front there. It's got that intricate design all over the front, clear window to the product, and then you can see the 9 shadows. And it's nothing too loud, is it? It kind of reminds me of a cooler take on the Boom Boom Bloom palette, which I think actually went over really well. In any reviews I saw a lot of good feedback on that Boom Boom Bloom palette. You know, it was kind of bronzy. It had a little warmth, but it had a little cool option. It was a really nice palette. This seems like an overall neutral palette with a little cooler twist. We've got some plum for sure. I'm not that familiar with all the MAC shades. I don't know if Creative Copper, for some reason that name sounds familiar. That's the shade right here. I'm not sure if that's a regular edition from the MAC line shadow. I know Shadowy Lady is a super, super dark as it gets plum, but it looks like by the names of everything else, they all apply to Aladdin, so they're special colors. Now, I've really liked this palette, but it's not really like surprising that I do, right? I like it because I love a good plum eyeshadow look, and I think there are some shades in here that work really beautifully with one another. The few mattes that you have, I think are really good. You've got this kind of soft pink, this one up here, and then your dark plum with Shadowy Lady. I love that there is such a dark shade here because I think it gives the palette a lot more versatility as to how smoky you can go with it. So as an individual here who really likes plummy eyeshadow looks, do I like it? Sure I do. Is it very uncommon though compared to my entire collection? Not really. Even if I hadn't been sent this set in PR, I may have been tempted to get this, you know, as a piece of the collection. I'm just kind of drawn to eyeshadow palettes, and I think the small compact size of what they tend to put out with these special collections is very approachable and very like, okay, I can see me traveling with that. All these shades seem super wearable for me. So let's apply here. I'm gonna take this sort of light brown, and we'll get a little bit of that going in the crease. What is this shade called? That's called Riff Raff, and it's a total matte. I really like the tone of this brown because it's so cool. that it kind of meshes in with the deeper plum stuff really well. And like I said, I did pack on the rose pigment on my lids. That is a gorgeous pigment. This is a full size, like that is a vat of color right there. And it was beautiful on, I must say. I was super satisfied. I have applied it dry and it's not quite the impact, it's not quite the cling, but if you just give your brush a light spritz of the Fix Plus and lay that down, it is such a beautiful effect. I don't know, do they sell individual mini pigments? Because the only thing is, like, I don't know if you'd ever in several lifetimes run out of that much MAC pigment. Who in the comments section has ever run out of a full-size MAC pigment? Let me know. So I've gotten that in the crease, both sides, and I'm taking my bare brush and kind of blending over the edges. And then I want to show you some of this pink. This pink shows up a little bit deeper than you might expect. I'm using it super lightly, kind of around the border like a transition, but I actually wore that in the crease and it defined the crease somewhat, that shade there. So that was kind of surprising. And then I'll take this shade right in the middle. The pink, by the way, is called No Ordinary Lamp, and this middle shade is Rags to Riches. This is a frost here, so we'll take a little bit of that up under the brow, just kind of getting the basis of the look. And then I really want to play with this shade here. I don't know if you can tell quite how interesting that is, but it's the one called Princess Jasmine. It looks like taupe at a glance, but it's actually got this blue shimmer in it. I don't know if you can tell a little better by that swatch on my finger, but it's an interesting shade. And as it shears out, it looks a little more purpley. You know, it's got that blue twist. What I want to try doing is actually wetting my brush a little with that, because while I got an impact using it dry, it wasn't super intense. So I'm going to try this where I go into it, I dab into it with my flat brush, and then I get a little Fix Plus out and give it a little mist, and then we'll apply that. Oh, you want to see that blue tone shimmer come out? That's what you want to do. I'm glad I did that today. Yay. I don't play with wetting things down nearly enough, and so I'm sorry for that. I pack on a little bit more, leaving the outer side of the lid maybe a little open for something else to come and play. But it's a fun color. That reflectivity is really apparent when you use it wet. So loading up the brush pretty generously and then spray. This is definitely the most, I would say, pronounced shimmer in this little palette because it has that, you know, micro sparkle infused. You almost get that metallic feel of a pigment when you apply it like this. Other options, you know, for lid shades, you have a silver and a gold down here, which is kind of interesting. You know, you could bypass some of the plumminess and go with like this in the crease, this on the lid. I don't know, you may have to eventually get into a darker shade to deepen things up, but there's that shade all over the lid. I kind of like it. And then I want to see this color layer up with it. This is one of my favorites in the palette. It's Abu right here. It's a shimmer, kind of a plummy shimmer. It's not too dark. I'm gonna let that come over top of the Princess Jasmine shade. Really pretty. Oh, I love that. And then Shadowy Lady is such an interesting color because, again, at a glance you think there's a black in this palette. No, it's a really cool, really dark matte purple, and when you are applying it kind of on its own and just maybe packing it on to its fullest intensity on your eye, or you're applying it as an eyeliner, it's going to go more toward that just dark looking black place. But as it overlaps with some of these interesting shimmers that are in here, you will see more of the plum come out. So I'm kind of cleaning off my brush here on my hand just casually, and I'm picking up a little bit of the Shadowy Lady shade. And yeah, I often like to take a dark shade to my outer corner, so I know this is classic me, but I'm trying to prove a point that when that shade goes over even just a little bit of shimmer, I mean, I still really see the plum, at least here in person. Kind of letting some of that plum come up to the crease. Don't worry, we'll blend it in a bit. But I love that color. Like when I built my own MAC palette, I chose that color. I think it's really versatile. Look how like instantly smoky everything just became. Now I'm going to take my E25 again, nothing specifically put on it, and just kind of help that buff into my crease now, because I really let the Shadowy Lady color wedge up there. So yeah, this palette, it's kind of like, are plums pretty central to what I own a lot of? Yes, they are. I feel like I'm pretty well stocked, but at the same time, I do feel like it's one of the more special pieces of this particular collection. So got that all blended, and then here's what I love. Love this shade right in here, right in the middle. It's called Agrabah, and we're gonna pick up some of that again with the E25, and this is so beautiful. Pairing with your deeper plums and just applying that kind of over the edge of your look. Am I even in focus? Letting that come up over the edge is so gorgeous. It's got shimmer, but I tell you, it's like the perfect little icing on the cake when you're putting your crease look together. Love it so much. I'm even bringing it down in here, which I sometimes hesitate to do, but it's pretty easy to work with. And then I can take my blending brush and just soften up that edge. On the lower lash line, I really like Abu. That's again our plum with shimmer. It's kind of a burgundy plum. There's much more red in that compared to Shadowy Lady. By comparison, making Shadowy Lady look more like a black in that palette. But see that pretty soft definition there? Love. Okay, we can totally do the inner corner pop with this palette. Back to this shade called Rags to Riches. Yeah, I'm learning it. Rags to Riches right in here. Just a little brightness. Now let's talk about our eyeliner for a second. This is the Technical eyeliner in Graph Black. I'm not really that familiar with this eyeliner formula from MAC, but it is a retractable pencil. And I was wearing this across my upper lash line the other day, and I noticed by not even the whole way through the day, but like just probably 2/3 of the way through the day, I felt like it faded. However, I was out at a fair last night, like a carnival, sweating my buns off, and I decided to wear this in my lower inner rim. Got home and was literally removing it from my lower inner rim. It wasn't wearing completely flawlessly all throughout. Like there were some areas where there was some wear, but it seemed to hang on longer in my waterline than on my skin, which is a really different experience for me. I wouldn't say it wears as strongly in the waterline as those Mally liners that I recently repurchased or rediscovered, the Evercolor automatic eyeliners. Not quite on par with that, but the overall takeaway here is this is better in my waterline than it is on my upper lash line. So I am going to apply that in my waterline today, but I'm going to do liquid across the top. I'm going to use my Too Faced Better Than Sex liner pen, so just allow me a moment to do that. Liquid liner also goes on top of this lid shimmer so well, so much easier than the pencil did. Like the pencil had a pleasant glide and all, but just intensity wise, it's always going to be easier with a liquid until you sneeze, which is what I'm about to do. Am I Princess Jasmine yet? Not quite yet? Okay, I'll keep working at it. I'm going to take my black liner now, and we are going to do this in the lower inner rim, like black intensity, you betcha. And I'm gonna also let it come down in between the lashes. You always wanna do this whenever you take a dark shade to your waterline, I think, in my opinion. You also wanna bring it down smudgy style, kind of in between the lashes, so things don't look too like, hey, look what I just put in that waterline. There's a little bit more of a fade happening. And then we can bring in, you know, a Shadowy Lady type shadow and make it all look a little more blended. I am so excited to see Will Smith as the genie. I think that's gonna be so good. Okay, we're going back to Shadowy Lady here in an angled brush. And you know what I like to do. You can go under your wing. You can even extend past the tip of your wing if you want things to be a little more pronounced there. And you blend over where you did that pencil. And it really gives you this smoky depth. And just in the spirit of keeping it smoky, back with the pencil brush into that center shade. And just let that come to play all underneath all that. Now guys, I'm going to just do my mascara. I'm gonna pop on some lashes because I just see this as a bit more of a glam look, and then we're gonna try on all the different lip products. Okay, the eye look is complete. I think mission accomplished with the super sultry eye. I love, again, that fun pop that this shadow provides. It's a little bit different. Now we're gonna move into the lip colors, and we have something called a crystal glaze here. So it's in this little pot, and you can see a very fine sparkle in it, and sometimes it looks a little more golden, sometimes a little more pink. And this is gonna run $24. The shade is called Number One Wish. It's just called Crystal Glaze Gloss. I don't know if this is something like MAC lovers tend to be really familiar with, but this is a new thing to me. I've never tried anything like this from MAC before. So I'm gonna just pop this on. It has a nice, really nice vanilla-y type scent. Feels kind of thick on the lips, but yet a little more gloss-like feel than a lip balm would have. It doesn't show a whole lot, like that pretty kind of iridescent sheen that it has doesn't really come through a whole lot on the lips. This may be the kind of thing that pairs better with one of the lipsticks. You know, you put it on top and you kind of soften a matte look that you might have, offer a little bit more shine. I think this is going to play itself out better as more of something to accentuate a different color than just to wear on its own. Next, we're going to do the lip glasses here, and we have Diamond in the Rough. This shade, as I said, the packaging is so ornate with these. It's like every spare bit of space is covered with some kind of print. This screams lip topper to me. I'm gonna apply it all over, but this is so pretty and brilliant looking on top of other things. The sparkle is so concentrated, and you see gold, like very, very soft gold, but also pink, which kind of cools it down at the same time. Kind of went outside the lines there, oops. But the sparkle is so concentrated. I mean, like I said, all over the lips. I don't know if I'd ever really wear it this way, but I've worn it on top of several of the different lipsticks, and I think this is my favorite gloss option. And they describe that as gold with golden pink pearl. Then we have Magic Carpet Ride. They describe this as light pink with pink pearl, so let's pop this on. While the other one like had a ton of micro fine sparkle, this seems just a little more pearlescent and kind of slightly more milky. Like it has an iridescent, more pearly sheen as opposed to grabbing attention with sparkle. I feel like I've got a lot of different lip toppers that go this more pink route. Not that I don't like this, I'm just not as blown away by it as that last one I put on. And then we have Jewels on Jewels, which is described as warm pink with gold shimmer. This is a pretty, like, it strikes me as a really peachy kind of tone. And it's pretty, like I like the look of this on top of my natural lip color. As far as glosses I would wear on their own, this would be the one I would feel comfortable wearing on its own. You know, it's super shiny, but it's not quite so shimmery or pearlescent that it looks kind of over the top. You know, it just looks like a nice shiny lip. There's enough warmth in this shade to just make me feel really comfortable in it. So if you're a standalone gloss kind of person and you just always want shine and you want something that's not a lip topper, I would say the Jewels on Jewels shade might be the one for you. But the one that's kind of most dazzling to me is probably Diamond in the Rough. Now, as far as the lipsticks go, the packaging is identical on all of them. So I kind of described that as a pet peeve, didn't I, recently? When you can't see the color at all on the outside and you have to like either really be in tune with the shade names or open them up and give them a look to see what color you're getting. I think it would have been cool if they would have coordinated the color of these peacock feathers to whatever shade was inside. The first one I'm gonna pop on here is Friend Like Me, and this is your cool neutral beige, and this is an amplified. All the other ones, well, there's two mattes and then a velvet matte. So let's pop this on. This is our lightest, most nude shade. Really creamy. Definitely has that cream sheen kind of feel to it, actually. I like that shade. I don't always wear a lot of this shade, but it appealed to me instantly when I was playing with it the other day. The formula also feels amazing. Really love. And I also love how opaque it is with one swipe. The next deepest shade is what a lot of people are gonna see is just insanely wearable here. It's your classic kind of rosy color. This is called Princess Incognito, and it's neutral pinky rose. It's a matte. So let's pop this on. Even being a matte, it's going on really nice and smooth. I just feel like this is the kind of color, a lot of people will look at all these shades in the lineup and say, that's my shade, you know, just because it's so basic and just kind of foolproof. And it's interesting to see, you know, with the eye look, you can see how every lip will sort of transform the overall face. I like this. I think I've got a lot of colors already that are almost identical to this. It looks more matte, I think, on my lips than the amplified, but it still went on every bit as creamy. Now this one is called A Whole New World. And this is the one described as velvet matte, and they call it a bright blue pink. And you can even see just looking at it that it's got this kind of fuchsia vibe, and if you look really closely you pick up on a little bluish undertone there. So let's see what this is all about. That went on incredibly smooth. Like, it still seemed, I don't know, like just Slightly dry, but still really smooth and creamy. It's hard to explain this formula, but the color is so poppin'. I mean, it looks really intense with this dark eye, but that is an absolute eye-catching, gorgeous shade of pink. And then our last shade here is the deepest. I think this is Raja, right? It's so hard to read because the label is going right over a little indentation in the bottom. Yeah, it's gotta be Raja. The Muted Red Berry Matte. This was the first one I grabbed to put on when I was trying everything out. It is a pretty shade. It's like a berry with a lot of brown in it. MAC is doing a great job producing these mattes that look matte but feel like an absolute cream lipstick going on. Just trying to clean up my edge a little bit here. Gosh, I love that color. That is so pretty. And then, just to show you, this will be a great way to exhibit the lip glass that I said is kind of like a lip topper. I'm not going to apply it directly to my lips because I don't want to compromise everything else in the tube, but look at this. Oh, the drama. Just kind of sheer it out. Give you that pouty lip, that little bit of shine. Absolutely love it. Time to get serious now and really discuss pros and cons of this collection as a whole. This is all making me so excited to see the movie and actually see what Jasmine's makeup really looks like. Like, I've seen a few previews, but everything's so quick. I'm eager to see exactly how she is done up in the movie. But as far as the whole collection goes, I mean, I think this is super exciting for fans of Aladdin, fans of Disney. I think the whole aesthetic of this line really speaks to the movie, all the gold, all the detail. In my opinion, here are the pieces that are the most skippable. The eyeliner. Like, is this the piece that you're gonna take? I want a piece of that Aladdin collection just for kind of sentimental value and whatever. I'm gonna get the black eyeliner. Like, no. Maybe you would, but again, I didn't think it performed that well on the skin. Performed better in the waterline, but still not the best. To me, even though the packaging is cute, it's skippable. Same with this Crystal Glaze gloss. Again, you could put it on top of a lot of these lipsticks, but if you've got any kind of somewhat shiny, clear, maybe with a fine sparkle in it type of gloss laying around at home, you could get that same effect with something you already have, and this isn't going to be like the centerpiece of the look that people really identify with and say, oh, is that the Crystal Glaze gloss from the Aladdin collection? It's cute and again, pretty packaging, but I just don't think it's a real defining piece of the collection. And I kind of feel that way about the bronzer and highlight as well. I think as far as standalone products go, whether they're part of the Aladdin collection or not, are they good? Yes, I do think they're good. I really do like the tone of that bronzer. But if I was really trying to be choosy about what I purchased from this collection, I don't think I'd see it as something above and beyond different. And same with the highlight, especially if you have very fair skin. I kind of wonder if that's going to be light enough to show a lot. But on my skin tone, it's sort of a subtle take because of all the gold that's in there. The rose pigment is absolutely beautiful. On the eyes, I think I love it best. Having it in this collection has really made me rediscover that. If you don't have it and you're curious about it and you love Aladdin, maybe you want to get it through this collection. But my favorite parts are probably the lipsticks and the eyeshadow palette. And that one gloss that really just, Diamond in the Rough is so special. I think it will accentuate almost anything you have, even if it's a nude. Like, this is going to stand out and look pretty on top of it as kind of a lip topper. If you're into that, like I said, standalone gloss, you're going to be looking more for jewels on jewels. The pinky one was just kind of okay for me, but the lipsticks I thought were all individually gorgeous in their own special way. They're each very different from one another. If I had to pick a couple of favorites, gosh, I really like that nude. I found it to be very light yet very wearable, and the little bit of pink in there I thought was flattering on my skin. And that was the one called Friend Like Me. And then my other favorite that I might like even more than anything is probably Raja, and that's the one I'm coming away with on my lips here at the end. Again, a matte formula that feels so good on. It's not just about color for me here. The formula is great. I do like the bright pink too. I like the more rosy neutral pink. If I had to pick favorites, I think those are my two faves. Eyeshadow, again, you're gonna have to use your own discretion here and think, do I have enough plums already? If you do, this isn't all that unique and different. However, I still think it's really good. And if you've never experienced the shade Shadowy Lady, that is special special. I'm glad that was in here. It mixes so well with these other things. This would be the most unique shade, the one that I applied wet all over the lid, but it's kind of up to you whether you think it's a need. I guess my point here is if you get it, I do not think you'll be disappointed by it. So there you go, everyone. That's my take on the MAC Aladdin collection. Very exciting. Can't wait to see the movie tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial and review, and I will see you again very soon in my next video. Bye.